Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm going to go my review of AEW's Dynamite Beach Break. Starting off the night, we got a tag team matchup. It is Will Ospreay teaming up with Adam Page to take on Josh Alexander and Takeshita. I thought it was a good match, man. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Ospreay and Page keeping the pace of the match. Page hits a fallaway slam on Takeshita in the middle of the ring. Page then hits a Death Valley driver on Takeshita as well. Page and Takeshita both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Page hitting a pump-up powerbomb for a near fall. Ospreay then gets involved in the match by hitting a running shooting star press for a near fall. Josh Alexander then applies an ankle lock in the middle of the ring, but the hold is broken. Ospreay hits an enziguri. Page then hits a moonsault to the outside. Ospreay then hits a sky twister to the outside as well. Ospreay and Alexander both exchange in the middle of the ring. Ospreay hits a poison rana on Alexander, followed by Ospreay hitting an Oz cutter. Page then goes for a buckshot lariat, but almost takes out Ospreay. Ospreay then loads up for a hidden blade, but almost hits Adam Page. Page then hits a successful buckshot lariat in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Will Ospreay and Adam Page. After the match, Takeshita then attacks Page, and Takeshita and Alexander then attack Will Ospreay. Some interesting stuff there between Will Ospreay and Adam Page. Moving on from that, we have Ricochet taking on Zach Gowen. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup. Ricochet was keeping the pace of the match. Ricochet then hits a springboard 450 for a near fall, followed by a shooting star press. Ricochet then hits a vertigo in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Zach then hits Ricochet with the leg for a near fall, but Ricochet hits the finish, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Ricochet. After the match, Ricochet then attacks Zach. Mark Briscoe comes out to save Zach from the attack from Ricochet. Moving on from that, we have the Hurt Syndicate. The Hurt Syndicate have a matchup. They are taking on Top Flight. I thought it was an okay match. Back and forth matchup between Hurt Syndicate and Top Flight, with Hurt Syndicate keeping the pace of the match. Lashley then hits a spear, followed by Lashley applying an ankle hurt lock in the middle of the ring, and your winners of the match are the Hurt Syndicate. After the match, they are greeted by Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. Dustin Rhodes says that he wants an AEW title shot. The crew shows up, Leo Rush and Action Andretti. Andretti then mocks Rhodes and Guevara. Leo Rush says that he wants the AEW tag titles. Rhodes says that how about we get Rhodes versus Guevara versus crew for the number 1 contendership for the AEW tag team titles on Collision, where the winner will face the Hurt Syndicate, most likely at Double or Nothing. After that, MJF music hits, but MJF does not show up and come out to the middle of the ring. Shelton Benjamin then goes to the back. MJF is hiding behind Tony Khan in the gorilla position. MJF then gives a thumbs up. MVP gives a thumbs up to MJF, is followed by Shelton Benjamin. Lashley finally gives MJF a thumbs up. MJF goes crazy, says that they hurt people, but MVP says that next week MJF has a contract signing to officially join the Hurt Syndicate. Some interesting stuff there between MJF and the Hurt Syndicate. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's Toni Storm versus AZM versus Mina Shirakawa versus Sky Blue. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup. Toni Storm was keeping the pace of the match. Sky Blue and AZM, that's the best way I can describe, pretty much pronounce her name. I forgot how they said her name. So I'm going to call her AZM. Sky Blue and AZM both exchange in the middle of the ring. Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa both exchange in the middle of the ring. Mina then applies a figure 4 leg lock, but the hold is broken. AZM then hits a destroyer on Sky Blue. Toni Storm then hits a Storm Zero on AZM for a near fall, but Mina hits a roll up on Toni Storm, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Mina Shirakawa. And it looks like Mina will take on Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship at Double or Nothing. Moving on from that, we have Nigel McGuinness. Nigel McGuinness comes out to the ring. He is greeted by Tony Schiavone, but he's quickly interrupted by Daniel Garcia. Nigel McGuinness then apologizes to Garcia for what he did. Garcia says that Nigel did the right thing by standing up to FTR. Garcia then tells Nigel that he wants him to fight along with him to take on FTR. Stokely Hathaway comes out to the ring. Hathaway then mocks Nigel McGuinness. Hathaway then calls Nigel McGuinness the Al Bundy of professional wrestling, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. FTR then come out of nowhere, attack Nigel McGuinness and Garcia from behind. After that, Nigel and Garcia, pretty much it's going to be Nigel and Garcia versus FTR for at Double or Nothing. So it looks like it's going to be a tag team matchup between Nigel Garcia and FTR at Double or Nothing. Moving on from that, we go into our main event of the night. It is Jon Moxley taking on Samoa Joe for the AEW World title in a steel cage match. I thought it was an okay match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Moxley and Joe, with Moxley keeping the pace of the match. Moxley applies a figure-4 leg lock on Joe in the middle of the ring. John then reaches for the rope to break the hold. Referee then breaks the hold, which I thought was kind of weird considering the fact that I didn't think there was rope breaks in a steel cage match. Moxley and Joe then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Joe hitting a powerbomb on Moxley for a near fall. Moxley then ends up retaining the title with the help of Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd comes out to the ring. He helps Moxley beat Samoa Joe. The Young Bucks come out as well. All-out brawl takes place. Swerve's there. Kenny Omega's there. Pretty much seemingly setting up an Anarchy in the Arena match that will take place most likely at Double or Nothing. Couple things I want to talk about, man, when it pertains to Dynamite Beach Break, and there is a lot to talk about, man, so, let's get locked in. Number one, was it a bad card? No, it was not a bad card at all. I think what, the ultimate issue here with AEW, obviously, is storylines. And I mentioned that last week, and I'm going to continue to keep mentioning that until things change. Storylines and not having storylines ultimately hinder AEW. And if you look at the situation with MJF, weeks on end, seemingly, for the past few weeks, we've had MJF and Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin have this banter back and forth because MVP wants to desperately join the Hurt Syndicate, which I'm all for it. But week in and week out, we got a thumbs up from MVP, we got a thumbs up for Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby Lashley was always the wild card, and 9 times out of 10, he usually gives MJF the thumbs down. Last night, we get Beach Break, and Bobby Lashley seemingly gives MJF a thumbs up, where it looks as if MJF has finally joined the Hurt Syndicate. Well, now we had to wait till next week, where MJF has a contract signing to officially sign on the dotted line to join the Hurt Syndicate. My issue with this is, bro, 2 issues. One, this storyline here between MJF and the Hurt Syndicate has been dragging out for way too long. Way too long. Because it's week in and week out with a thumbs up, thumbs down. It's just, I don't know, bro. It feels like it's starting to really, the well's running dry. Now, with that being said, my other issue, too, is how is this really going to play out with MJF possibly joining the Hurt Syndicate? And there's multiple ways of looking at this. MJF joining the Hurt Syndicate does what? To be honest with you. And what stipulation does it come with? I mean, MJF could sign that contract and officially be a member of the Hurt Syndicate, but there could be a stipulation. And that stipulation could be the fact that MVP, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin want that Dynamite Diamond ring that MJF has seemingly been holding his entire career in AEW. Maybe that's something that they want. And that might be something that might be hard for MJF to actually give to the Hurt Syndicate. So then where do we leave MJF and the Hurt Syndicate? Then you had to look at the narrative on the fact that, that narrative as far as, the Dynamite Diamond ring, if it doesn't work, the other narrative would be, where's this going? You know what I mean? If MJF doesn't happen to join Hurt Syndicate, then what is next for MJF? Is he going to try to get even with Bobby Lashley and MVP and Shelton Benjamin? Is he going to align himself up with FTR? There's been a lot of people that I've talked to that are hoping that somehow MJF reunites with his old buddies FTR and maybe reunite the Pinnacle stable that MJF was once a part of. I don't know if that's going to happen. And the reason why I don't think that's going to... don't get me wrong, it'd be great. It'd be awesome. And I think FTR right now is the most suitable tag team to take down the Hurt Syndicate, to be honest with you. My issue with the Pinnacle idea is, and the wild card in that, is Wardlow. Wardlow has been off TV for AEW for quite some time now. We haven't heard shit from Wardlow. We haven't seen anything about Wardlow. We've heard nothing about Wardlow. The only thing that we heard about Wardlow as of late is that he filed a trademark for the Wardlow name. But we have not seen him on AEW Dynamite television in quite some time. It's been a while. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know if they're just keeping him off TV right now. I have no idea what the hell is going on with Wardlow. Bringing Wardlow back into the mix with MJF is very interesting. Do I think it's going to happen with, them reuniting with, MJF and Wardlow? I don't see it. I don't. That would be a hell of a lot of explaining to do, to have Wardlow realign himself up with MJF after all the shit that MJF put Wardlow through in the very beginning of AEW. And Wardlow was trying to do whatever the hell he could to get the hell away from MJF. So the idea of a Pinnacle reunion with the possibility of having Wardlow align himself back up with MJF is very, very unlikely. As far as a Pinnacle stable reunion is concerned. Now, again, I'm all for if MJF does happen to reach out to FTR for, some help, if you will, or a stable to help out MJF successfully take down the Hurt Syndicate. I don't know if that's going to work out or how that's going to pan out. Because the way that it's looking now, it's like FTR is going to have a match at Double or Nothing against Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia, which I think that match is an absolute joke, which I will talk about here in a second. But that's the thing with MJF, bro, is where is this going to go? I think that's the biggest question mark in all this between MJF and the Hurt Syndicate. Where is this going to go? Because if MJF somehow does align himself up with the Hurt Syndicate, how long is it going to last? How is it going to play itself out? Are we going to have something where the Hurt Syndicate ultimately tell MJF no, and they screw MJF over when that contract signing happens, and they just turn their back on MJF and they beat the shit out of him? That's also another option as well. There's also some people that are hinting around the possibility of a Hurt Business reunion where they bring in Cedric Alexander possibly to realign himself back up with his old buddies now that he is a current free agent. And I'm sure Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and at least MVP have probably been lobbying Tony Khan to bring in someone like Cedric Alexander. So this could also be something where they could bring in their fourth guy or tell MJF, hey, we brought in a new guy, but it's not you. And then next thing you know, the lights go out, lights come back on, it's Cedric Alexander, and Alexander beats the shit out of MJF. That's also another option that could possibly happen here with the idea of kicking MJF seemingly out of the Hurt Syndicate, even though he hasn't officially joined the stable yet. So, there's a lot of different angles that you can look at it. I mean, you can also look at the fact that this could possibly set up something between Bobby Lashley and MJF, most likely taking place at All In. That's also something that very well could happen. But it's just one of those things as of right now in the current storyline that we're in with this. It's just the well's running dry. They're just. I feel like they're forcing it down your throat. It's just a week in, week out. It's the same shit, rinse and repeat. And, Bobby Lashley finally gave him a thumbs up, but now we had to get to next week so MJF could sign a contract to make it official that he's joining the Hurt Syndicate, which I think is complete and utter bullshit. And to be honest with you, I would not be surprised if they turn their backs on MJF and end up beating the shit out of him, leaving him pretty much helpless in the middle of the ring. So, there's other, like I said, there's ways of looking about it. Hopefully, for me, if I was booking this, I would totally have MJF, align himself back up with FTR. Because at the end of the day, too, bro, you had to look at the narrative with the tag team division right now. The tag team division is fucking awful in AEW. When you saw, and the thing of it is, bro, when you look at someone like Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, first of all, this is the first time we see Guevara back in AEW for quite some time because he's been injured or he's been on Ring of Honor. So we really haven't seen Guevara that much on AEW television. And honestly, it's kind of ironic that we haven't really seen him on television since Mercedes Moné has kind of been in the fold with AEW since she's joined the company. So, it's kind of odd, to be honest with you, and I'll just leave it at that. But what I will say is this. The tag team division right now in AEW is fucking bad. You had Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. I mean, it was almost to a point where I understand that, Dustin Rhodes and Guevara hold the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships, but with all due respect to Dustin Rhodes, bro, Ring of Honor is a dead fucking promotion. No one gives a shit about Ring of Honor, bro. Literally. Nobody gives a rat's ass about Ring of Honor. And this also goes back to what I've been saying as far as having Ring of Honor shit on Dynamite. They're bringing that shit in on Dynamite to try to make it relevant, and it's just not working. It's just not. It's not. And as far as Ring of Honor trying to shop for a TV deal, bro, I don't see it. I just don't. It's a dead promotion, man. It's not there. It's not what it once was before Tony Khan had purchased the company, because at one time Ring of Honor was one of the best wrestling companies in the world. The talent that walked through those fucking doors it was incredible. Future Hall of Famers themselves that walked through the doors of Ring of Honor. Now, man, it's fucking bad. So for what it's worth, there's a tag team matchup seemingly that's going to happen on Collision where it's going to be Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara teaming up to take on Lio Rush and Action Andretti. Out of the two teams, I mean, I'm kind of rooting more for Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara to go up against, the Hurt Syndicate. But if that were to happen and we get that match at Double or Nothing, I'd give a rat's ass about that match, to be honest with you. Because there's no notable tag team right now in AEW that's worth a while that's actually going to challenge the Hurt Syndicate and possibly beat them besides FTR. Young Bucks are aligning themselves up right now with this Anarchy in the Arena shit, which I'll talk about here in a minute. It's just, they need tag teams, bro. I was hoping, for what it's worth, I was hoping the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson, were coming over to AEW. They were free agents. I know they're making their way back to New Japan. I was kind of hoping they kind of, brought themselves over to AEW because they need tag teams like you would not believe. Akam and Razor, Authors for Pain, hopefully maybe they bring them in. They need tag teams like you would not believe. Because the tag team division right now is so fucking bad. And it's not taking anything away from Hurt Syndicate either. I think Hurt Syndicate are great. They're immensely over. And, they're doing great shit right now. MVP, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin are doing a fantastic job since they've been in AEW. Hands down, they're immensely over. But when you look at the rest of the tag team division, bro, it is fucking abysmal. Like, there's not even a tag team division. The Young Bucks are a tag team, but they're more focused on other bullshit besides going after the AEW tag team titles and trying to align themselves up with the Death Riders. It's a fucking joke. It's just, I don't know, man. To me, and that's the other thing, too, with All In. You can look at Bobby Lashley versus MJF. You can look at FTR taking on Lashley and Shelton Benjamin for the AEW tag team titles at All In. There's a lot of multiple different angles to look at as far as this MJF storyline with the Hurt Syndicate. So we're going to see how it plays out. We had Tony Storm in a Fatal 4-Way matchup and a title eliminator match with, it was Tony Storm, AZM, the return of Sky Blue, and Mina Shirakawa. And Mina Shirakawa was able to hit a roll-up on Tony Storm herself and pin her for the 3. And now we're going to get Mina Shirakawa taking on Tony Storm for the AEW Women's title. For what it's worth, I'm all for it. Do I think Mina's going to walk in Double or Nothing and walk out AEW Women's Champion? No, I don't. Because All In is AEW's biggest show of the year. And Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné, it's most likely going to be the match that's going to happen at All In. It's the money-making match. Now, I'm not saying that, AEW bringing in Mina is a bad thing. No, it's not. I don't know what's going on with Mariah May. I know Mariah May is really close with Mina Shirakawa as well. I don't know if this is going to be something that helps Mariah May in her decision to possibly stay with AEW now that they brought in her friend and now she's going to be on AEW television more often than not. I don't know. But that match will be booked between Mina and Tony Storm. That match is taking place at Double or Nothing, May 25th. Should be a very interesting match, and we'll see how that plays out. And then we get to the main event, which I want to talk about with you guys and my thoughts on it. It was a steel cage match between Samoa Joe and Jon Moxley for the AEW title. It was a good match. It wasn't a bad match, but my God, man, was it an absolute clusterfuck at the end of the show. So much shit was going on. The rope break for the submission during a cage match is complete bullshit. And just letting you all know, I've never in my life seen a referee break a submission hold or break the hold during a steel cage match. It's no disqualification. You're not breaking a submission hold in the middle of the cage. I mean, you look at multiple cage matches throughout the history of time. I've never seen no bullshit like that. And I've seen a lot of cage matches. Hell, I can go back to the cage match between Harley Race and Ric Flair at I believe it was Starrcade 83 when Gene Kiniski was a special referee. You think those guys, they weren't doing rope breaks for that shit? I mean, come on, bro. The referee had no idea what the fuck he was doing. And then we're going through the match, and then we get Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd comes out of nowhere, seemingly, and helps the Death Riders. Helps Jon Moxley get a win, secure the win in beating Samoa Joe. I don't know nothing. To be honest with you, I don't know shit about this Gabe Kidd guy. I have no idea what he's about. Multiple people that I talked to, obviously he's a New Japan talent. There was a return match for Kenny Omega. He went up against Gabe Kidd, and a lot of people said that it was a great match between Gabe Kidd and Kenny Omega. I don't know how Gabe Kidd falls into the Death Rider situation. I have no idea. I don't know how that fits into, who asked for that to happen, to be honest with you. And not only that, when it pertains to Gabe Kidd, I feel like he's a day late and a dollar short. You got Forbidden Door coming up, probably most likely in June. You would figure that we would see someone the likes of Gabe Kidd somewhere around leading up to Forbidden Door. I don't understand why he's a part of this Death Rider situation. Now, I will say this, and someone brought this to my attention yesterday, and I could be wrong on this, but it was, like I said, it was brought to my attention that Gabe Kidd was the last guy to injure Eddie Kingston. Now, on the heel side, you got 5 people seemingly going to be a part of this Anarchy in the Arena match, where on the baby faces, you only got 4. This could be something where we could possibly see the return of Eddie Kingston, aligning himself up with the babyfaces to take on the Death Riders. He's got a lot of history with Jon Moxley. Obviously, there's history there between him and Gabe Kidd. It makes a lot of sense. Now, obviously Eddie Kingston's been out with severe injury. He's been out for quite some time. I don't know if he's 100% healed up at the moment, but if he is, this will be the perfect opportunity to bring in someone like Eddie Kingston. Absolutely. And for what it's worth, Eddie Kingston's severely missed, man. He's great on the microphone. He's good in the ring. Eddie Kingston's severely missed in AEW, and I'm sure he's got a lot of shit to say as far as what the hell's been going on with AEW as of late since he's been gone. So, if this is something where they brought in Gabe Kidd to bring in Eddie Kingston, I'm all for it. But if they brought in Gabe Kidd to align himself up with the Death Riders just so we can get Hook or Shibata to join this babyface team to go up against the heels. I mean, on the babyfaces, you got Swerve, Kenny Omega, and the Ops. It could be Hook. We have not seen Hook in a while. Or it could be something on the fact that Hook turns heel and says to hell with the Ops because they ultimately threw Hook away and brought in Powerhouse Hobbs. You got Shibata as well. I mean, those are the two easy go-to picks. But to me, if I had to book this, I would love to see Eddie Kingston be a part of this matchup and have him return finally back to AEW after being gone from injury for so much time. So to me, I think this would be a perfect opportunity to bring in someone like Eddie Kingston. Absolutely, for this Anarchy in the Arena match that seemingly is going to take place at this year's Double or Nothing. So, there was a lot of shit going on, man. I mean, do I think Beach Break was a great show? No, I really don't. Do I think it was a bad show? No. But there's things that in AEW that desperately needs to fucking change. We all know it. I've been saying it since I've been blue in the face now. Storylines are a huge factor into AEW. He needs a writing team, bro. There's no ands but a bit about it. If you're looking, the thing of it is that gets me, man, if you're looking at the first 3 years of AEW, and the stories that they had from MJF and the Inner Circle and Pinnacle and all this other shit, and a lot of shit with MJF. You had all this great stuff, man, in the first 3 years of AEW, and now we get to the past couple years in AEW. It's been fucking terrible. And you would figure, like, in the beginning it would get bad, and then later on it gets better. No, it was great in the beginning. Now it's slowly getting fucking worse. Where AEW is ultimately, for some people that I even talk to, taking the passion away from them watching professional wrestling because it's just week in and week out of constant bullshit. And rinse and fucking repeat. And people are tired of it, man. They're tired of it. Hell, I'm getting tired of it because it's getting to a point where there's nothing that's really captivating on AEW television. And the fact of the matter is they got the fucking talent, man. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying AEW doesn't have the talent. I know Will Ospreay has had some choice words towards WWE saying that they couldn't lace their boots and all this other shit. Will Ospreay's great. He's probably the best wrestler on the planet right now. But the one thing I'll give WWE compared to AEW is, number one, storyline that makes sense. And two, when you get to these PLEs or pay-per-views, it's with WWE, it's more, quality over quantity. When you look at AEW, it's always going to be quantity over quality. You might get a couple quality matches here and there, but most likely it's quantity over quality, with AEW seemingly putting on, anywhere from 10 to 12 matches per pay-per-view. And majority of those matches being jack shit. Where WWE are putting on 4 to 5 matches, per PLE, that makes sense. And the storylines align themselves with those matches. We're not getting that shit in AEW, bro. We're not getting nowhere near that. I told you guys before, man, it's looking a lot like All Japan Pro Wrestling. There was somebody that I saw that I was talking to yesterday that literally said the same thing I was saying, I think it was a couple years ago, that AEW is starting to have a lot of resemblance to WCW 2000. And I told you guys about that, man, that a lot of these Dynamite episodes seemingly remind me of WCW 2000. Those Nitro episodes that were fucking so goddamn bad that it was hard to watch the product. You know what I mean? And this was a time where the company was done. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of stuff in AEW that needs to change, and hopefully, AEW can hit the reset button. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW's Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classy.